welcome to the 6-week birthing workshop. It's a workshop of awareness and consciousness and really about our life work in the birthing movement. My name is Lisa Arshosky.
My name is Sue Bryan, and Lisa, you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm a midwife. I started off in labor and delivery. I was an aide and then an RN in labor and delivery in a really busy tertiary hospital in the Valley, San Fernando Valley. And my first teacher on the floor was a midwife.
I'm really excited to be presenting something that is, I believe, really unique in the world of birthing these days, in that we're addressing this all from a place of depth and from a place of just deep awareness and consciousness of the whole process: conception, pregnancy, parenting. After my children were born, I spent the next 15 years as a parent educator and parent coach. So just really helping bring that sense of lovingness and compassion and consciousness to the whole thing, the whole journey of parenthood, from beginning all the way through adulthood. Most babies are born in the hospital these days. And once you enter the hospital, you're entering a world that doesn't really understand the spiritual or the consciousness or the awareness aspects of birthing. So it's just important to know that, and to know how, as a family, you can hold your own and create your own experience despite what's going on in the environment around you.
Yeah, yes. Birth in this country has become highly medicalized, and a lot of the practices that happen within the hospital, not just in labor and delivery, but even, across other areas in the hospital, aren't so evidence-based, and sometimes that comes out of, avoiding lawsuits, and so it's a very litigious society that we live in, and some of the practices in the hospital aren't evidence-based. There are many other countries that really support and uplift mother and baby-friendly practices. So what that means is that there's evidence-based care, that we never separate mom and baby at birth, that mom can walk around during labor because they know that movement of the body, rather than having somebody supine or lying in bed, really aids in the labor progression and helping cervical dilation. And for many years in this country, we've been having women come into the hospital in early labor and strapping them into the bed with their monitors and their IVs, and it sort of goes against the natural process of labor. And there is a movement now. It's supported by a coalition of birthing advocates that is trying to get a more natural mother and baby friendly practice within hospitals. So it's an exciting time, but it's really still the early stages of having mother-friendly practices within hospitals, so that they can walk during labor, so that they're not strapped to a bed, strapped with the monitors throughout the labor process, that they don't have to have an IV the entire time. And so practices like that really support a woman to have the most natural birth outcome. So it's exciting, but it's in its infancy. Hospitals are slowly recognizing this. So it's really up to people like us, as birth advocates, as natural birth advocates, to help women and families understand what natural birthing is, what our bodies are capable of doing, and that they have an understanding of your body in order to go into the hospital, because 98% of women do deliver in the hospitals, right? So it's only a very small percentage that choose to deliver outside of a hospital. So women can have that natural birth experience within the hospital, but it only comes out of awareness, education, and having workshops such as ours.
There are actual medical or physical advantages to a more natural approach to birth, not strapping a woman in bed with the monitor, not allowing her to move around, allowing her maybe to even eat a little bit during labor. Those things actually have a medical advantage. And so it's great that the evidence is beginning to show the medical advantages of this, because we've known for centuries that, and you as a midwife, as a home birth midwife, have known for your whole career, and I've known for my whole career, that these things help women not only have a healthy baby and a healthy labor and delivery, but it helps them connect with themselves and their power in a way that being strapped in a bed doesn't really do. And so it's got both sides. It's got the medical advantage and the consciousness advantage.
Yes.
To really work towards these mother and baby friendly practices that women, of course, have known for centuries, but that we've sort of abdicated for a while in the history of childbearing in this country. So we're going back to it, and that's really exciting, but it does take support. It's not possible to just, or it's possible, but it's not likely that a woman's just going to walk into a hospital off the street with no education and be able to have that conscious experience in that medicalized environment, because the pressures are very great in walking into the hospital to do things the way they want to do them. You're in their neighborhood, you're in their place. So our intention is to really support men and women who are having babies in finding their own strength to decide what they want in their birthing experience and how they can deal with the situation as it is wherever they're choosing to give birth, in a way that brings them together and brings them into themselves and into their power. So it's really, it's exciting, and I'm just so thrilled to be part of this, because to me there's even a greater picture. It's not so much just about childbirth as it is about consciousness development overall globally in the world, that we are in a shifting time right now, and that the trend is towards wanting to be more grounded in our, spirituality or consciousness, and bring that sense to our child rearing, our childbearing. And I feel like there's this movement afoot, and it's really important to bring children into the world consciously. Maybe more important than ever.
So how do we get grounded within that chaos? And well, one way is at the start of somebody's life.
Yes. Yeah. And having parents who have not given into fear-based practices, but have held strong in consciousness and awareness-based practices, is a great start. It's a great environment to be born into.
Right.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that we'll be emphasizing in our course as well is the postpartum period and how we can deal with that. And I had a young woman tell me just the other day, who's pregnant, that she wishes that she could tell her mother-in-law to just stay away for the next 40 days after her baby is born. But she doesn't know how to do that. She doesn't have the logical, the reasoning behind it, so that she can explain this in a way that won't be hurtful to the family member. So I know that we're going to be addressing some of that in our workshop, because it's so important to give the baby, the family, a right kind of start. Not that everybody has to have 40 days of isolation, but that's just something that can be very valuable to families.
Yeah, that 40 days is about creating a peaceful environment. So really connecting how the labor and birth, the piece of that, and continuing that on into the first 40 days postpartum. There are many cultures around the world that recognize the importance of that time. A baby can't even see a foot beyond, their world. So their vision is sensitive, their beings are sensitive, they're so wide open emotionally, spiritually, and physically, that to be able to create a soothing, loving, and non-chaotic environment for them as they come into the world, as they come into their own bodies, is a great start for their little lives ahead of them. So we, talk about the first 40 days in our workshop, and we talk about mother and baby friendly practices, how to birth within that, how to advocate for yourself, how to connect to your own body. And we do that through things like a meditation practice, how to, Sue leads us in a meditation for the workshop, and we also involve Kriya or yoga in order to connect to our bodies and to that higher place within ourselves. We talk about labor and birth and what that looks like, and the norms within that, and what that could look like outside of the norms, and how to really navigate through those processes, because it's big stuff.
It's big stuff, and it's good to have a good grounding in education, because when a woman is actually in labor, she's in a whole other dimension. And to have really covered all of this ground before, and have Dad there too, having covered all the ground, figuring out how to navigate through the medical system, through the labor itself, what to expect, what happens when the unexpected happens, how to navigate through that. It's just a really important procedure. So I'm thrilled to be part of it.
So am I. And we are natural birth advocates, but the actual story that happens isn't, what's important. And we want to convey through our workshop, through the series, that it's really about the connection to the process, and allowing yourself to get out of that, that monkey mind, that brain, really come into the neutral space and connect to your bodies, to your babies, to your spouses, to the significant other, and whatever the story surrounding the birth, to be able to accept that and love that, and we want to hold that space.
Yeah, because I think one of the most damaging things that women do to themselves is self-judgment.
Yes. And
particularly around birthing and parenting. So it's just really important to cultivate an inner environment of embracing whatever is, and learning as much as we can, like we said, to navigate through the system, but to just be in love with ourselves wherever we are and whatever comes towards us in this process.
Yes.
It's really important.
Yes.